A man called Woodrow Derenberger on November 2nd was driving home alone. He would see something that looked like an old kerosene lamp globe because of its flat bottom and dome-like top. He was forced to stop due to it blocking the path ahead. Shortly after stopping, he apparently saw a man that seemed to be around 6 foot tall, olive complexion, dark brown hair, and a glossy dark blue coat emerge from this unidentified object. The man would walk towards Derenberger's car, starting to speak to him telepathically, all while with a smile on his face. Apparently, the man told Derenberger, "Be not frightened, have no fear. We come from a country that is nearly as powerful as yours. We mean you no harm." He would also tell Woodrow that he would contact him again and suggest that he would contact the local authorities, which he would do. Apparently the conversation lasted for about 10 minutes, and when he was done, he went back into the strange object, rose into the sky, and left. This story sent the world into a frenzy, with other people coming forward, claiming that they have experienced similar situations. This story would be popularised again years later, in 1970 when a book from John Keel was released to the public. To this day, it's still uncertain if this story is really true. Maybe we'll never get a definite answer. Jan Harold Brunvard, a man who rose into popularity for the books that he wrote about urban legends. He would write multiple of these stories, one of them being The Choking Doberman. It's evening. A woman decides to go out with her friends. When the evening was over, she would return back to her home. When she enters her home, she would see her pet Doberman in the hallway, choking on something. She immediately started to panic. She rushed her pet to the vet. The vet informs the woman that they need to perform tracheotomy, a surgical airway procedure. The vet promised to call her back once the procedure was done. She would leave the vets and go back home. While she was trying to calm herself down, the vet would eventually call her again, and they told her to leave the house immediately. The vets discovered what the dog was choking on, 3 human fingers. She would call the police. Once they arrived, the house was being searched. They would find a burglar inside of the closet, passed out because of blood loss, with 3 fingers missing from one of their hands. This story has several varying accounts. The basic elements of this story always remain the same, however some details are changed slightly with the different accounts mentioned. A Korean ritual game that gives you the ability to travel to another dimension. It's believed that in order to do this you'll need to press the elevator buttons in a certain pattern. When you eventually complete the pattern, a woman may enter the elevator with you. If this ends up happening, do not talk to her and do not speak to her. Apparently the woman is not a human, and if you interact with her, she will keep you for her own. If you get to this point, press the button for the first floor. Don't continue if someone else enters the elevator or a player leaves the elevator. The elevator will either go up or down. If you make it to the first floor, leave and don't look back. However, if the elevator goes up to the 10th floor, leave and remember not to respond to anything that the woman asks. If you enter the other dimension, you're on your own and electronics won't work. The other world is identical to our world, the only difference being all the lights will be out, and all you'll see from the windows is a red cross in the distance. To make it back to our world, you'll need to go to the same elevator and press the buttons in the same pattern you did before. If you've done this, the elevator will ascend to the 10th floor again. Press any button to cancel this before you make it to the 10th floor. When you reach the first floor, look around, and if you see something that seems off, don't exit and repeat the pattern again. Once everything looks good, you've made it back. It's night. A teenage girl was babysitting. She had not long just put the kids to bed and started watching TV. She would receive a call from someone unknown. The only thing this person would say is, "Check the children." The girl just assumes it's just a random caller pranking her, so she continues with what she was doing. However, this anonymous person did not stop calling her, increasingly frightening her, eventually pressuring her into calling the police. The police would inform her that they would track the next call. Luckily, the stranger calls again. The police would call her back, telling her that she must leave the house immediately. She would comply with what the police said and would leave the house, with the kids still inside. The police would meet up with her at the house, telling her that her calls were coming from inside her home. The unidentified caller apparently started calling after the people's lives upstairs would perish. Just like most of these urban legends, other versions with slightly different variants exist as well. This story seems to originate from the 1960s, but the inspiration behind this is still unknown. However, most believe that an unsolved murder of a babysitter from the 1950s was the real reason for why this urban legend was created. According to the legend, this story is about a Japanese woman who was mutilated throughout her life. Her mouth was being cut from ear to ear. The most common version of this story says that she was an adulterous wife or mistress of a samurai. She would get very lonely due to the samurai always being away from home fighting. Because of this, she started having affairs with men around the town she lived in. The samurai would eventually find out about what she was doing behind his back, and as a way of punishing her, he would slice the corners of her mouth from ear to ear. Some versions of the story say that her mouth was filled with very sharp teeth. After her death, she would come back as a vengeful spirit, wanting people to feel the pain she felt. She would usually wear a cloth mask and carry around a sharp instrument. Something that she would usually ask victims is, "Am I pretty?" If you say no, she would kill you with the sharp instrument she was holding in her hand. If you say yes, she would take off her mask and ask, "Even now?" If you say no, she'll kill you. If you say yes, she will slice the corners of your mouth from ear to ear, just like what happened to her. According to some versions of this story, you can survive if you say yes twice. However, in some other versions, this can get you killed the same night while you're asleep. Another tactic says that telling her that you are running late to something will get her to apologise, allowing you to move on. Some other tactics and different variants of this story exist. I just don't have enough time to go through all of them right now. A common variation of this story would tell you that the hitchhiker would leave the vehicle as a normal passenger. However, they would leave something behind, or borrow a garment before they left, to protect them from the cold outside. The hitchhiker could have left behind some form of information, encouraging the driver to make contact with the passenger again. Some accounts say that the garment borrowed may be found from a gravestone in a local cemetery. In another account, the driver may contact the family with the information that the passenger left behind, finding out that the family's description matches the passenger. The driver could also find out that the passenger was killed in an unsuspected way, a car accident, and the driver's encounter with the vanishing hitchhiker would occur on the anniversary of the passenger's death. Another interesting story flips this entirely, saying that the hitchhiker learns about the driver being a ghost. A lot more variations exist, however I'm running out of time to share them all today.